with the prayer, then we'll do a chant, have a brief meditation, listen to a short excerpt on this topic by Swamiji, and then carry on from there. So let's begin with a prayer, focusing at the point between the eyebrows. Let's pray together. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, great masters of self realization, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswarji, beloved Gurudev, Paramhansi Yoganandaji, saints and sages of all religions, humbly we bow at thy feet. O great ones, help us to open ourselves so that we receive thy ray of joy and bliss in all forms. Help us to grow our understanding so that we realize your tests are also of bliss. Help us to embrace everything that you provide as a means of our own spiritual upliftment. We are thine, Lord. Be thou eternally ours. Om Shanti Shanti. Just reduce the volume. Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurti Vandakitam Gagana Sakrisham Tatvamasya Ekam Nityam Vimalam Vachalam Saharvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatītam Trigunam Titam Sadgurum Tvameva Bhaktam Javita Tvameva Bhaktam Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Om Om Joy, 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 everything. Joy, 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 everything. Joy, 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 ever new. Joy, 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 ever new. Joy, 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 ever new. Joy, 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 joy. ever new. Joy, 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 ever new. Joy, 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 ever new. Joy, 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 ever new. Joy, 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 ever new. Joy, 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 new joy, 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 new joy, 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 new joy, 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 every joy, joy, आनंद आनंद नित्य नवी आनंद 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 आनंद नित्य नवी आनंद 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 joy 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 ever new joy 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 ever new joy 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 ever new joy 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 ever joy 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 joy. Listen to my soul song. Listen to my heart song. Listen to my soul song. Listen to my heart song. In secret in my soul, I will gather blossoms for the dipping day. In devotion, I will lay them at thy feet. Listen to my soul song. Listen to my heart song. Listen to my soul song. Listen to my heart song. In secret in my soul, I will gather blossoms for the dipping day. In devotion, I will lay them at thy feet. Listen to my soul song. Listen to my heart song. Listen to my soul song. Listen to my heart song. In secret in my soul, I will gather blossoms for dipping them in devotion. I will lay them at thy feet. Listen to my song, listen to my heart song, listen to my song, listen to my heart song. In secret in my soul, I will get blossoms for the dipping them. In devotion, I will lay them at thy feet. Listen to my soul song, listen to my heart song, listen to my soul song, listen to my heart song. In secret in my soul, I will blossoms for the looping in devotion, I will at the beginning. Listen to my song, listen to my heart song, listen to my soul song, listen to my heart song, listen to my soul song, listen to my heart song, listen to my soul song, listen to my heart song. In secret in my soul, I will get my blossoms for the dipping in the ocean. I will lay them at thy feet. Visualizing the feet of our gurus or masters and the bliss of this opportunity in our hearts. Let's sit in meditation for about 10 minutes.
I was I was with Master Michael Yogananda. I was I was with Master Michael Yogananda, my guru. I call him Master, and I was with him at a performance. It was put on by a bunch of spastics for their um, benefit, and it was a benefit performance, in other words. And there was a young man who had come from India who was a student and friend of Yogananda's brother. And so Yogananda put him up. He was a boxer by profession and a very presumptuous fellow. He came for 2 days and stayed for weeks and weeks. And at one point he sent a message upstairs saying that he didn't like the food. It was American and he was used to Indian food. So Master said nothing. He just sent him food from his own kitchen. But this is the kind of fellow he was. Anyway, he decided for this performance that a uh, he would be a dancer. Well, he was a boxer, and I suppose you dance in a boxing ring, but there are subtle differences. And it was the most ridiculous performance I've ever witnessed. Master and I were sitting side by side, just tears of laughter rolling down our cheeks. One time I let out a little guffaw, and Master said, don't. But he was supposed to play the part of a hunter hunting a deer, and he played both parts. So sometimes he was this ferocious hunter, and sometimes he was this dainty deer. And he went on and on. At a certain point, he got completely out of touch with the rhythm, and he stopped the orchestra, walked down to the footnotes, and apologized for the orchestra. He said they're not professional musicians; they don't know what they're doing. But please bear with me. And he went back. Every time he danced around them, he'd go like this, exhorting them to be in time. It was he who was out of time. Anyway, he then, after endless ages, it seemed like he finally got the deer shot. And this deer was writhing in agony all over the stage. Just finally it collapsed. And everybody clapped, I think more in relief than anything else. But we had forgotten, he was also the hunter. And so he stooped down and picked this deer up and began this victory cakewalk. It was so funny. I can only try to describe it to you. But at a certain point, we saw somebody in the orchestra go like this to the sideline, and the curtain began to descend. And he looked over, and he saw this curtain coming on, and then you saw his feet only striding furiously to give those people a piece of his mind. Well, here was the really touching thing. Master could see the absurdity of the occasion. It was really one of the funniest events I've ever witnessed. But he could also see it from the poor young man's point of view, that his ego was really outraged at the way he'd been treated. And later, Master said, I understand, that he didn't laugh at him. He was seeing it from his point of view. This was the beautiful thing about living with a master. Whoever he was with, in some subtle way, he looked like that person. So when you have to face even the most difficult times, if you can face them with the right spirit, if you can learn to have a good smile on your face, bliss is not only a reaction, it is the reality underlying everything. And a sense of humor If it's caused, if it's sarcastic, if it's unkind, that's not the kind of humor I'm talking about. But there is a certain humor in life that shows you that underlying everything, God is having a good laugh. And it may seem funny that he should laugh sometimes. And yet, when you think that even this comes, you're going to have obstacles, you're going to have troubles, you're going to be in concentration camps and everything. But at the end, you suddenly realize that it's all been a part of just a dream. This life is a dream.
Let's do this affirmation on humor. Before that, let's listen to these words by Swami Gyanandaji on humor. A good sense of humor is an effective means of keeping a sense of perspective through the trials, difficulties of life. By not taking things too seriously, one develops non attachment. One should not laugh too much, however, lest the mind becomes light and one's view of life becomes superficial. Thus, one needs to achieve a sense of perspective where humor itself is concerned. The best way to do so is to share one's laughter with God, to laugh with the sense of His joy within. Never laugh at people, but rather with them. For humor should be kindly, not sarcastic. Laugh with pure delight, and everyone will join you in your laughter. Now let's do this affirmation together, speaking out loudly to the conscious mind first and then going deeper and deeper. In laughter, I recall my own mistakes. Merriest am I when, by laughing, I include myself. In laughter, I recall my own mistakes. Merriest am I when, by laughing, I include myself. After I recall my own mistakes. Mentally gazing at the point between the eyebrows. In laughter, I recall my own mistakes. Merriest am I when, by laughing, I include myself. And with this prayer, I delight in life's comedy, for it reminds me that true sanity exists in thee alone. We'll now have the readings, first from Living Wisely and then from the Gita.
Good morning. These thoughts are from Living Wisely, Living Well by Swami Kriyananda from the November 4th. And the title is Keep a Sense of Humor. Keep a sense of humor, especially when things don't turn out as you hoped. Life is a play. Often, indeed, it is a tragic comedy. You will enjoy it best if you can remain unaffected. Even if the play ends in tragedy, it may help to purify your heart and to expand your consciousness.
The sense of the Bhagavad Gita, explained by Paramahansa Yogananda, as remembered by Swami Kriyananda. To be even minded and cheerful under all circumstances is the first duty of the yogi. This obviously does not mean being cheerful about other people's suffering. One must respect and even empathize with their pains, as Krishna did. As regards one's own pains, however, the aspiring yogi must firmly banish all thoughts of ego identification with both pleasure and pain. Pain may, in fact, be happening, but he must not think of it as his own. The more he can resist the oppositional states of nature, Maya's duality, Dvaita, the more he will find that he can remain inwardly calm under all circumstances. In that calmness, moreover, apart from not suffering when others howl with pain, he will find himself not suffering personally, even when he must endure the same pain as they. He will be at the calm center from which appropriate movement can be made instantly in any direction. Astonishing feature of my Guru's life was how he would instantly reflect the appropriate response to any circumstance. I have to say that in the 3.5 years I lived with him, I never saw him give exactly the same glance or reaction twice. A good practice for the devotee is deliberately to submit himself to extreme opposites, heat and cold, pleasure and pain, etc. He should be careful not to test his powers too far beyond their proven ability so far. Oh.
Thank you so much for the wonderful readings. Welcome once again. The topic of the satsang today is the humor of God, and it should be befitting that we start with some joke. So, this is a joke on an atheist and a bear. So, there's this atheist who is walking in the woods. He's enjoying, he's saying to himself, what a wonderful forest, what wonderful wind is blowing, the nice sound of winds, what a wonderful river is flowing around, and he's enjoying that and walking around. And then suddenly he hears some strange sound behind him. So he looks back and then he sees that there is a bear about a few hundred meters behind him. So he gets a bit scared and he starts to walk fast. And then after a while, when he looks back again, the distance between the two had reduced a lot. So then he starts to run. And then later on, when he walks back again, he sees the distance has really reduced. So he runs really fast, but then he falls down, he trips over. And then when he looks back this time, the bear is right above him and his paw is up, about to grab him in some sense. So at that time, suddenly this atheist says, "Oh God, please save me." And then suddenly the paw of the bear, everything kind of freezes, the sound of the wind kind of freezes, and there's a light that comes from front, and everything else is paused, and there is a sound that comes. Really? What has changed? Just one this thought. Do I now feel that you are now not an atheist and you believe in me? Now this atheist has this question to answer, but there is this bear also behind him. So he is not able to figure out what to do, but he says, "Yeah, I'll be a hypocrite if I just suddenly change saying that, yes, now I am your believer." So he says that, "No, no, I am not a believer, but at least this bear could be. So why don't you change him to be a believer?" So thinking that if he becomes a believer, then he's not going to eat. So God says, "Okay, so be it." So the light disappears, the sound again comes back, and then he now looks back at the bear, and the bear actually, instead of changing the paw, brings it down in Namaste position, and then he says, he prays to God, "Oh Lord, thank you so much for the food that you offered to me in the form of this man." There is this other joke that Master had once mentioned. So there is this lady who's an Irish woman coming from Ireland to US, and at the immigration, at the customs counter, the man sees that a bottle in her hand, and which she had not declared in the customs form. So he asks, "What is this?" So she says, "Water, plain water." So he said, "Oh, okay." So then he opens up the bottle and smells it, and he says, Irish wine?" And she says, "Miracle, my lord, miracle." But we've often seen that whether it is Master or Swamiji, they use a lot of such jokes and humor in their um, talks, in their lectures. And at times we wonder that they are God realized saints and trying to make these kind of jokes. What is going on here? But it seems there is a very deep purpose with which they do this. What happens with sharing joy, sharing humor is that we loosen, right? We relax. When we laugh with our hearts open. And if we notice, there's always this happens that as soon as they give a very funny story, there's a very deep message that follows it. They open our hearts, they relax us, they make us receptive, and then they enter our hearts. This is exactly what we heard when Swamiji was talking about that story, and then suddenly follows up by saying that life is just a dream. No matter what happens, we can take things easily, and so on. Recently, we had watched this movie, The Answer, and those of you who remember this particular scene, there's a very beautiful scene wherein Master is playing with some toys, which Swamiji is initially amused by as to why is he doing that and so on. But again, in that movie, the scene, just as soon as he plays this toy and then he asks Swamiji, what do you feel about it? And he says, I mean, yeah, fine, Master. And then right after that, Master says that you are too serious. And he actually says, and he kind of relates this to the kingdom of God. So time and again, we see that this is what masters have been doing to us. Perhaps this is what God does to us. So when there are instances when there is a message being given to us, and we remember God when that atheist was trying to remember God in some sense, perhaps there is a message to us. They want to make our hearts open, and then they're going to give some message to us. But the tricky part is, and in some sense, the serious part of humor is that it there are two things which are really important with humor, right? One is the ability to understand humor, and the second is the timing of humor. Lot of times there are very good jokes that get killed because people have to explain that this is a joke in some sense, right? So if the joke is not understood, it just goes in some sense, it doesn't solve the purpose. And it is relatively difficult when the joke is on us. It's relatively easier for us to laugh at others. Um, with um, with that in regard, there's something that I remember about my own self. I was going to participate in a triathlon event for which I was supposed to carry my bike along. And then when I went to the airport, and this event ironically is called as Iron Man because it's kind of very difficult. So those who do will be Iron Man and all that. So I'm at the airport, I'm carrying my bike, but the airline didn't allow my bike because for all kinds of different reasons. So if I don't carry my bike, then how will I do this event and so on? So I'm tensed, obviously, and I had practiced enough and all that, right? So what I do is I call my wife and I tell her that they are not allowing. I mean, she wouldn't have been able to do much, but it's always as is taught in our path that talk to some positive people, they will uplift you and so on, right? So I called her and I called my coach as well. He's also very positive. They'll give some suggestions and so on. And obviously, I have to deal with whatever is happening. So I called them. I said, they're not allowing my bike. I called my coach. He said, they're not allowing my bike. And eventually, anyway, they didn't allow, but I reached and then I got a bike, whatever. That's a different story. But so I did the race and so on. Since then, my son, my wife, and my coach make fun of me so much, saying that, hey, this person called wanting to be himself Iron Man, and then calling from the airport, oh, he's not allowing my bike, he's not allowing my bike. That perhaps was one of the toughest moments, but since then it has been one of the most funniest moments whenever that thing comes up that this is an Iron Man, they always say that this is that kind of an Iron Man. And as Dharmarajanji in one of his talks was saying that if you if you start to look at yourself and start to laugh at it, you'll find there's going to be a lot of amusement for you. So if we develop that ability to understand jokes that are on us, that's definitely going to give us a lot of laughter. The second and important aspect is about timing, right? The timing of jokes is really, really important. Um, and that is a bit hard when God kind of cracks jokes at us. But that's also something that we can really learn from our gurus and masters. One specific instance is of the story of Swamiji, which he relates so funnily. I'll try to do justice to this. So Swamiji was once given a voice recorder. They didn't have mobile phones at point in time. So there's this device, small digital device. If you like press it, and then it has some memory, and if you can record voice on it. So it was usually used by people who would interview others and then later on listen to it and then type and create newspaper articles and so on. So he was given this voice recorder, and then he couldn't test it out. But then he had once gone to, just very soon after that, he had gone to a orchestra, opera, which is like a huge theater and then like 40, 50 musicians performing and so on. And incidentally, he happened to have that voice recorder with him. So after one performance, he remembered that, oh, he has this thing with him, and why not let me just test it out, that I know it can capture human voice, but how will it capture the music sound and so on? And he had never tried it earlier. So he thought, okay, after one opera, when after one performance, when the second one starts, that's when I'm going to switch it on so that I can li- record the entire one particular piece of song. So, but usually what happens is that between two songs, there's pin drop silence in the opera. That's when he turns it on. As soon as he turns it on, it says, voice recording starting in 5, 4, 3. And everyone is now looking at Swamiji, what is happening here? Because there was complete silence. And Swamiji, anyway, he could start, but he didn't know how to stop. So he's figuring that out, and it's continuously going on and on and on. And then eventually it stops. And then someone says that, now, perhaps that's not the right thing to do out here. Because anyway, it seems recording is not allowed in that kind of an orchestra and so on. Now, Swamiji, when he was relating this story, he was saying that he was embarrassed at doing that, but at the same time, he was really happy that this is going to make such a great story to tell about. Another instance, there was this time when Swamiji with a few others they were going in their car to a skiing destination to ski, and then there was snow on the road and his car kind of skid, and then it met with an accident, and kind of the car was completely gone, but they were all fine. So they all got off the car, and then they saw a bus going in the same direction. They stopped it and they hopped up onto it, and they said, okay, let's go skiing. Now the people on the bus, they said that, oh my god, you just suffered a terrible accident, your car has been smashed, and here you are going on skiing. So Swamiji said that, yeah, I mean, I'm going to feel okay after a week or so, so why not feel okay right now? Both these stories clearly say the timing of being able to understand the joke that's been thrown on them was immaculate. If we could imbibe this ability to understand tough situations and realize that there is that bliss within them and some amount of humor associated with it, life will be really easy for us in some sense. And this is perhaps what we can also relate to when we are doing things in our daily lives. As the talk by Swamiji said, that it will also help us get more detached with day-to-day activities rather than taking them too seriously. And then um, that is one part, but the other part is also that we will enjoy them more because we will take them lightly. And then if the situation is difficult, then we will laugh at ourselves rather than feeling tight about it and so on. um, with this thought, let's now listen to a song by Swamiji. It's called The Secret of Laughter, and then we will have the Aarti. Thank you. Just go and play this.
The secret of laughter lies in the laughing, not in the search for joy. It's a swallowing on the wind, it's innocence in a boy. Loo-doo-doo-doo-lero, loo-doo-doo-doo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly. Loo-doo-doo-lero, loo-doo-doo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly. Joy in the singing, not in the song sung, welcome but never crave. If you think that laughter lies in things to things, you'll be but a slave. Loo-doo-doo-doo-lero, loo-doo-doo-doo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly. Loo-doo-doo-doo-lero, loo-doo-doo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly. Joy in the giving, not in the gaining. Grasp and you'll never see. You could win the world and still be poor. Win peace and live like a king. Loo-doo-doo-doo-lero, loo-doo-doo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly. Loo-doo-doo-lero, loo-doo-doo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly. Sing when the sun shines, sing when the rain falls, sing when your road seems strange. In a tempest seize the lightning flash and ride the winds of change. Loo-doo-doo-doo-lero, loo-doo-doo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly. Loo-doo-doo-lero, loo-doo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly.
Now have the Aarti, you can also.
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Shri Ram Shri Ram Jai Shri Jai Jai Ram Shri Jai 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 Ram Shri Ram Jai Shri Ram Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Shri Ram Jai Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Shri Ram Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai 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 Ram Shri Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Jai Jai Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Sri Jai Jai Sri Jai 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 Sri Jai 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 Sri Jai 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 Sri Jai Sri Ram Jai Sri Jai
Let's now close this satsang with a healing prayer. Let's pray together. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children. Manifest thy healing presence in their bodies, minds, and souls. Shanti, Shanti. Divine Mother, may thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to share your love with all those who are in need. Om Shanti, Shanti. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful and a joyful day ahead, and we'll have prasad in the DL.